What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of My Hero Academia. Okay, so yeah, this episode was hype. This episode was awesome, man. Like, my man Izuku. Now, I was maybe thinking we were gonna come out here and say Izuku. I might say that for next week because next week we getting it, boys. We getting it, boys. Next week we getting it next week, boys. Mongolians, you know what's up. People like me who couldn't help but see some stuff that's gonna happen from Omaha. Y'all know what's coming up next. I won't say shit, but it's coming. You anime onlys ain't ready. You ready? This is gonna be some hardcore Sakuga top shit probably we're gonna get next week, boys. Bones ain't playing next week. Bones will not be playing. Anyway, so with all that out of the way, let's just jump right into this episode. So after the usual, recap of what happened last week with Togata and all the others, Izuku jumps right in. We go back 5 minutes earlier, back with Izuku and the guys after they took down Mimic. So they're pretty much asking Mimic, to reset the walls and asking what the rest of the leave does. The dude answering their question, he's just so fucking enraged from Toga's little jabs. He's just like, he's just not listening to them. And then the cop also tells him to, reset the walls back into their original places. But he can't because, like I mentioned before, the dude's probably too pissed off to listen. And because the effects from that quirk enhancement drug have also gone down. So they're kind of wondering, about the league. They mentioned about the league, and Izuku kind of remembers back to what Aizawa told him. He's like, "Hey man, if the league's involved, y'all are out." So he's like, "Mr. Aizawa," or Aizawa Sensei, or whatever he said in the actual Japanese. Which I'm assuming Izuku's guys are like, "Oh, so are we still good? Or were we done?" Like he's probably one confirmation, but then Rock Lock kind of like interrupts him and tells him pretty much just why are y'all still here? Go. After Uraraka. Uraraka and Red Riot and all the others are have gone so far as well, especially Lemillion. He got all the way over to Overhaul and everything to go that you guys need to keep going. You're almost there. Just go on. So one of us has to stay and keep an eye on Mimic. Anyway, which I gotta say, comparing Mimic to the Japanese things, because I watched the episode last week. This week dub, because the dub just dropped. And I gotta say, the dub is so much better in my personal opinion because in the Japanese, Mimic is just pissed off. But then in the dub, you got who's actually in the dub. I just noticed he's actually voiced by the guy that's voicing Shinra in Fire Force. Which sounds cool. He's like legit, like he has that whole thing where he's like who the hell do you think you are, you little punk? Where he like gets his voice really deep and gets it really high up. I like that as about Mimic's character, and it makes me like him a lot more. But in the sub, he just screams. It's boring compared to how it is in the dub. I just had to throw that in there, and I love whoever voices Nito. Shinto, I think, dude, whoever, the guy that can pretty much tell people the truth, that makes people tell the truth. I think it was like Naito or something, Nito, something along those lines, or Naito, Naito Shinja, whatever the hell the dude's name was. He in the dub, I love it, and I love he had this like little echo, when he uses his power, man, it looks so cool. I love the dub for Hero Wakami. But anyway, back to the episode. I got a little sidetracked there. So anyway. Rock Lock just tells him to leave, and he's pretty much banged up a little bit. That he can't really jump around after what Toga did to him. So he has to, he's pretty much to stay there while he's going to the rest of them go out there. And he tells them, of course, I'll bring, and he's gonna tells them, I'll bring back the girl. Of course, why wouldn't he? He's a hero. And we get some interesting stuff on Rock Lock, actually, where Rock Lock said in the past he would never say that just to be disparaging, be like, oh yeah, I'll bring him back, but then he never does, so he doesn't want to come, so he doesn't want to make promises he doesn't know he can keep. Which, I can understand that. And then we see the man's wife, and holy shit, she's hot! Like, bruh, Horikoshi, my dude! Rock Lock's one lucky bastard, and you got some interracial shit going in there. I dig that, Horikoshi. I dig that. I see you, my man Horikoshi. Anyway, the top part of her hair is black, and the bottom half is blonde. And that color matches up really good. She's hot. She's like really fucking hot too. I'll probably low-key might put her in the thumbnail. That's how hot she is, man. I'm not bullshitting y'all. Y'all watch the episode, that she low-key hot. People be talking about, fucking Bakugo's mother. as like MILF of Hero Walker. Nah, man, Rocklock's wife is MILF of the anime. Is the wife, is the MILF of Hero Walker, man. Like, yo, she hot as fuck. Like, legit. And then we see a Rocklock's kid who's a spitting image of him. And I love she jokingly said, the genetics went a little too far in one direction, didn't they? Yo, I love that, yo. You know, man, like, if my wife was that hot, shit. Shit. Yo, man. I'd be saying that shit too. That I would bring him back, man. But anyway, enough me talking about Rocklock's hot Asian wife. We head over back after they go over there and go with Toga. We see Toga and the other Toga and Twice. They're up on top of like this little up top of this problem above, like I guess in the roof area you could say. They're crawling over there and they're just wondering what they should do next. And I love Twice, man. Twice says, so Toga, what do you want to do? Kiss? Like, yo, I'm really starting to ship these two now. But anyway, so Toga wants to do where she's like, she's like, oh, BW Izuku, I want to see it again, but she also wants Overhaul to cry it just as much. And so then Twice lends her her ear and gives her an idea that he has, where he pretty much wants both the groups, both the hero groups, Izuku's group, as well as Overhaul to meet up so that they'll beat the living shit out of each other and they can pick up the scraps. That's pretty much what their plan is. So then we head over back to Izuku, bursts through the wall like an absolute boss, and meets up with Togata and Overhaul. So Izuku, once he gets down there, he punches Overhaul straight in the arm. Once again, I'm pretty sure it was the same arm that Togata hit, so that Togata busted. So the man goes at that Eraser, of course, uses his Eraser Quirk to, erase Overhaul's quirk. He's just like, what the hell? Why isn't it working? He's trying to, trying to make a spikes, but he can't because, the floors, because he can't, his quirk's been erased. So, Izuku goes, so we see Togata, and he says, she's behind me. And he kind of moves to the side, that's where we see Ariel. Night Eye embraces both of them and tells Togata, you did great, man, Ariel. You were awesome, Get back to Izuku and Aizawa. Overhaul is like, where is Chrono? And then we kind of see a little bit more of how Overhaul's quirk really works, because we've never actually really seen it in action outside of the spikes, Outside the spikes and everything, we've never actually seen him use his quirk on people before, which is one thing I liked about this episode, is that we actually got to see it in action a couple times, even when he used it on it. We even saw a little bit of him using it on Eri, which was kind of surprising, because I didn't think we were actually going to see it, because that's probably a little too graphic for Shonen Jump, but hey, well, we really didn't see much, but we saw a little bit, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So, he erases his quirk. Chrono's wondering where Chrono wakes up. Chrono eventually gets up and fires off one of his little, fires up with this, his hair out towards Aizawa and Izuku. Izuku, man, Aizawa gets Izuku out of the way and he gets cut up. His arm gets a little cut from his hair. And then his hair kind of retreats back into his head. We find out what the dude's quirk is, and so by that point, and he also tells him that if you're stuck with my hair, you are pretty much your movements are very much slowed down. And Aizawa can't help but blink. So he ends up blinking, which of course gives Overhaul back his quirk. He's like, it was all for nothing, and spikes are throwing everywhere. But before we go right to the rest of the episode with Aizawa and Chrono. We gotta talk about, so we see this one scene where, when Togata was facing up against Overhaul last week, when he threw Chrono at Overhaul, he was legit knocked out. Now what he did was he put his hand on his head and kind of healed up his head to, reduce the time, which was actually kind of interesting to see, because you see these particles and such kind of leave from Chrono's head and kind of surrounds Overhaul's arm. It looked really cool. Overhaul's quirk is not only really interesting and really cool, just the power and the powerful it is, but just in the overall design, just how it works when you see it in action, against people and stuff. It just looks really, really cool. So I gotta give my man Horikoshi massive props for that. So anyway, after that, we get back to Izuku. He's trying to figure out how to figure out what's going on here, because at this point he summons up some massive spikes, and they're all over the place. And we also see Natoma, whatever the dude's name is. I forget the dude's name, but man, he was so cool. He see him kind of just come right in front of Overhaul, which he pretty much grabs both his head and his head, and they kind of morph themselves into this monstrosity form with Overhaul, where he has 4 arms now at this point, and his mask is pretty much permanently embedded into his face, And we see these massive like black lines. I can only imagine what this looked like in the manga. It probably looked really cool in the manga, but here in the anime, like you have these massive like black lines, like thick black lines, all over Overhaul's body, which you would obviously tell that when he rebuilds it, it's not perfect. Which kind of makes me wonder more about the bandages on Aries' arm and legs, because we know because when you look at Aerie, with the arms and bandages, her body looks good, she looks great, she looks fine, but we all know when you got a PC, and you want them to look good, you have cable management. And there's got to be somewhere where those cables have to go to make them look as clean they are where they're not in the way. I suspect under the bandages is Aries' cable management. I'm assuming right there is probably like a bunch of like scarring or those giant thick black lines, of where, of how many times she's had to rebuild her. All like the little like scarrings and imperfections of it are right there in her arm. So like, cause we see a little bit of like her arm bleeding later on in the episode. So I can assume when Overhaul breaks her apart, brings her back, all the scarring or imperfections are right there. That's at least my theory anyway. Correct me. So that's my theory anyway. So we head over back to Overhaul, or back to Chrono. So Chrono, he has it's the top of the race. They're like underneath, like they're pretty much like in like a lower level from where the battle is actually taking place. And so he has like these like a bandana, like something covering up Aizawa's eyes, so of course he can't use his razor quirk. And we see his face, and his hair is kind of like in the shape of clock hands. And then we get the whole like, Chrono, his quirk, da 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 da. You get it. And it was called like Chronoplast, I think it was called, where pretty much if you're tucked by the dude's hair, your movements are slowed down. And he hit him with like the shorthand the second time, which would mean that he can't move faster than a snail, and that lasts about an hour. So after that, we head back to Izuku. There was also this awesome part where Izuku like kicks like one of the spikes off and like thrusts it towards Overhaul like it's a spear. But Overhaul, of course, with his quirk, he takes that rock or pieces of the rock and then just shoots spikes from his hand. And if Izuku didn't have his iron souls, the man probably would have lost his feet at this point. At least I would have giant fucking spikes protruding out of them. And so afterwards, Sir Night gets involved in the action. He tells Izuku to look over Lemillion and Aerie. So Sir Night gets in the action while Izuku goes checks on Aerie and Togata. Sir Night first throws out some of his little weights around, which of course Overhaul dodges them, no problem. And then one other thing we saw here, which I don't even know if I didn't know much, but first off, before Overhaul went to like change up his form and went to and morphed himself with like Minetto or whatever the hell the dude's name was, his face and his whole body was breaking up in hives, which I thought that was a nice little touch there. I noticed. But anyway, so Overhaul actually around this party, Overhaul kind of breaks his arm off and then rebuilds it, and the effect of it and how it was animated looked really really cool. So I get props to the guys over at Studio Bones. So anyway. So they start going at it for a bit. Sir Night does some Matrix-like dodge and between Overhaul's arms, and we see that he's using Foresight. Now we get some extra details on Sir Night here and more about his ability about Foresight. First off, we get a little flashback back to when he was with Togata. He says, he tells him, that that during a battle always predict your opponent. And he's like, what? Like see the future? But my quirk is in Foresight. Aha! Good answer. That was humorous. I don't know. I feel like Horikoshi purposely made this super stiff kind of guy. The super serious guy like Sir Night. I have such a thing for comedy as some just for the sake of irony, as some funny irony. That would not surprise me. That was Horikoshi's mindset when he was writing and creating Sir Night. But anyway. So anyway, he tells them, take all the experience you learn from different experiences. Rescue, villains, death. Pain, suffering, sex. I add that last one, but and use those and store those into your memory to, of course, help you out in further battles. To predict your opponents and always stay one step ahead. So we see this. We see some more of the film strips of Overhaul and the attacks he does, which of course. Sir Night obviously dodged them accordingly, and we see more of them, and which was really really cool how this all was edited together. So I gotta give props to whoever edited this episode. It looks really really cool. I love the way this whole thing was edited right here with the film strips and everything. So it tells you trusted me, Mario, you trusted my teachings, and I am proud of you. And he said some other stuff, but that was pretty much something else in there. So while Sir Night is dodging all of his attacks. Eventually, while he's using his Foresight, and we also find out that he says that he's only going to use 1 second Foresight. And now, We also see this one section where he's talking with a Gran Torino, and Gran Torino asks him straight up, like, why don't you use your foresight to see far into the future? Like, so far we've only seen him use, like, relatively, like, now, like, you know, maybe like a couple minutes, maybe a couple minutes ahead, maybe like a second ahead, just small stuff. We don't see him ever looking beyond that, like a year into the future, or a month into the future, or a week into the future. And this is once again really cool stuff with Horikoshi that I'm definitely gonna talk about in that Sir Nine video that I do. I'll probably record most of it actually this week during the week while I'm at winter break, just so I have most of it already recorded, and then I'll probably maybe till the end of the season and then see if there's any other stuff that might happen, or if I don't know if it's gonna happen. I think we might actually Sir Nine might actually die in this season also, because after those blows he took, I wouldn't be surprised if the man died. So you guys might see the review sooner than so you might see that video sooner than expected. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, hopefully I definitely look forward to when I finally get on to work on that Sir Nine video. Got a lot to talk about him, and I think you guys are gonna realize. But anyway, enough me, shilling my future videos that I'm gonna do. That hopefully you guys like. But anyway, so he says that he thinks that, and that he says that the future he sees is undeniable. Like, you cannot change it. Like, he's tried multiple times. Even if I do the exact opposite of what they do, I still end up back there, like it's balancing accounts, you know. So no matter what he does, he always that future is indisputable. And it's like, if I use my foresight and I see something, am I just giving am I just setting their fate? And if I see their die, did I pretty much just kill them at that point if I see their death in their future? So that's why he will never use his foresight on far away, like, time frames, like a week or a month or a year or any of that kind of stuff. He will only use it for, like, small scale stuff, maybe like a day, probably at the max, or, like an hour. Which is what he's using here. He's only using 1 second foresight, just enough to know what overall's attack is, but not enough to where he will probably end up knowing whether or not he's going to die or not, which we then see Overhaul, which then, after a bit of more dodging, we see Sir Night-Eye's eyes go from that purple-black thing back to his normal eyes before we transition back to Izuku, checking up on Eri and Togata, and he opens up a door, and he like kicks into the door, opens up a pathway for them. It's like, okay, this is the way we went in there, guys. Come on, let's go. Eri, puts her hand on Togata's clothes. Of course, there's blood on her hands. She's like, I'm sorry, enough, and she's crying. I'm just like, oh, poor Eri, man. Poor Eri, man. Oh, I hate seeing Eri like this, man. Hopefully she gets a happy ending, man. Because, man, Eri doesn't deserve this, man. Eri does not deserve this in the least. So anyway, Eri comes back. So after we get through with Eri, after we head back to Eri, we then actually see, Sir Night-Eye. We see him again, and this time he's like coughing up blood. And oh shit, and we see Izuku's face, and we see Togata's face, and we find the man just got impaled and like looked like his arm. I don't know if his arm got cut off. From the way he looked, it looked like he might just got cut in his arm, like a spike just barely missed, just completely cutting off his arm, but it did manage to cut it. And Sir Night-Eye is fucked. And then we look back on Sir Night-Eye and we see his visions. He actually sees Izuku's death. We see Izuku, and then blood just covers up the frames before the film strip just ends. Half of it's like it's cut up diagonally, and that's where it ends. So it looks like he sees Izuku's death. So then Izuku, obviously, of course, being Izuku, driven by madness, rushes right in there while he lets Togata take care of Eri and get the fuck out of there. He runs in there, stomps his feet against the ground, having the floor come up from beneath him, working as almost a shield. So Overhaul's like, what the fuck? His power wasn't like this before, and he's like, my body's screaming at me, but I can move. My body's creaking, but I can't keep this up for long, but my body can move. And then we found that my man Izuku has went from 8% motherfuckers to 20% motherfuckers. He says 1 for all, 20%. Yes, so my man went from 8 to 20. That's about, hold on, let me do some quick math right quick. 20 minus, however much that is, I don't even have the calculator. I pulled it up on my phone. But anyway, yeah, my man Izuku is going a little crazy. He's slowly going up and up on those percentage. So he goes in there and then he jumps in and then we have to see him And then we have to see like his arm or like the little brace he has on his like right arm, or his left arm, whichever one is like the really injured one, with the scars and everything. That glove just gets like disappeared. Now I don't know if that was from, I don't know if it just came off just from Izuku using his quirk, or that was just from Overhaul. But either way, the man loses it. 12, yeah, it's a 12% increase. So anyway, with the one for all, with him using one for all. Anyway. So Izuku, so that he loses that part of it, so he loses that part of the brace, so he loses that brace on his arm, and then he's like, okay, but I can't, no matter how much I do damage to him, he'll always rebuild himself, so I gotta take him out in one move. So he jumps up into the ceiling, has his feet planted on some pops, jumps right down onto the ground, making a beeline towards him, and he says, Manchester Smash. Yes, we're bringing in the UK now, boys. We're bringing in the UK. We're done with the United States of America. Now we're bringing up the Brits. Goes in there, does like a downward kick right towards his head, but of course Overhaul manages to dodge it. And he's like, what? He dodged it? He's like, compared to the other two, you're predictable. And then that's when Izuku gets stabbed. He like fires out some more spikes towards him, and that's when Izuku gets stabbed. And then we just see the frame just covered up by his blood before we fade out and fade back in with Togata. So he's holding Aries' arm. He's dragging himself up using the walls like a crutch, I guess, trying to keep himself up. Right, like, okay, time to get safety. Come on, you can do this. You're nowhere near your limits. Keep on, the moon man's bleeding, and he can barely stand. He then finally falls down to the ground. He's just like, damn it, move, get up. And he has tears in there. What you got first off? I gotta give huge props. Like, even though I prefer his dub voice actor, I gotta give huge props to Togata and Aries' Japanese voice actors. They were both fantastic. So this last part of the episode here was fantastic, man. They both did excellent jobs with the voice acting here. So, he's crying, and then we see Izuku. The man has like a spike stuck in his arm, another one in his leg. The man's bleeding, and then we see him use a Nemoto's quirk. Like a mouth appears in his hand. He's like, Eddie, someone is about to die because of you. And let's imagine Overhaul just really sticking that knife in there. Like, someone's going to die because of you, Eddie. Huh? You want this? You want this? Is this what you wanted, Eddie? And so, first off, the look on Aries' face, man, was, oh man, Eddie, man, So Eddie. Oh man, poor Aerie. So Aerie Lemillion is talking to her, probably telling her to stay there. But she ends up walking out like that whole Izuku created. And she's like, no, this isn't what I wanted. Stop! And he's like, and so he uses them, and then Izuku's like, no, go back, stay with Lemillion, And then he uses the mouth again. And she asks him, like, do you think Izuku can do anything to save you? And she's like, no, I don't. And they ask, like, so what should you do? Go back. And then he's like, see? What you're doing is the cruelest thing there. You standing up and trying to fight for her. She doesn't want you. And Izuku, my man Izu, GOAT! Right here, boys. Stands up, pulls one of those spikes out of his arm. I think it was out of his arm, might have been his leg. And he's like, I don't care if you don't want me. You're crying, right? That means I'll save you! And then he just crushes it in his hand, and that's pretty much where the episode ends. After Ryukyu, Uraraka, and all the other Uraraka and Tsu just come bursting from the wall. Come out like the ceiling, so they just came down from on top of the ground, they just went underground. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. I can't believe I almost forgot this. We actually see a flashback with Aerie, and we see a little bit of what I mentioned of what actually happened to her. So we see Aerie, she's hooked up to the chair, and we see her arms. Her arms are just covered in blood. Now, for all we know, we don't know if her arms got cut off, because we see her arms shaking. We see her hand shaking. So I don't know if her arms got cut off, or they ripped up her skin or something. And they mentioned how, she used up that much, that's pretty much all she got. She used up all her strength too, and then Overhaul takes off the glove, and, he says, okay, it's time to go back to square one. So, what could this mean? I'm really curious. I want to know what actually Aries' quirk is. That's the one thing I'm most interested in. Because I'm sure we can all theorize what it is, but we don't know exactly what it is. So yeah, guys, this episode was fuck. I was also gotta say, in the next episode preview, We getting it, boys. Infinite 100%. We getting it, boys. You anime onlys ain't ready. You are not ready for the masterful masterpiece that will bestow upon. I ain't even ready because I've only seen one panel. I ain't even ready to witness his greatness, ladies and gentlemen. But it will be hot and it will be lit. So anyway, I'm ending here, guys. Overall, I give this episode a 10 out of 10. So hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, flag links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys.